Batman has always been more than just a man in a cape. He's one of the greatest minds in the multiverse, making him one of the greatest tacticians ever. And with this, he was able to turn fear into a weapon, lowering the amount of crime in Gotham. But sometimes fighting evil with fear just isn't enough. There's times where Batman has to face monsters, the Justice League, or even beings that exist beyond reality itself. And this is something that Batman realized. And just like we've seen before, he starts to prepare for the worst, keeping prototypes and armor that nobody talks about hidden, having suits forged in the sun and others forged in the 6th dimension, some of his armors literally giving him the powers of the Justice League and able to take down the League itself. And with these suits, Batman becomes the strongest member in the Justice League. And that's why we're here today. We're going to go over the strongest bat suits Batman owns, the ones that prove Batman doesn't need powers to fight the impossible. In Bruce Wayne The Road Home, we are introduced to his insider suit. This suit allows Bruce to go undercover and gives him the powers of the Justice League. When fighting Batgirl, it reveals to us that he has heat vision just like Superman. And not only that, it's able to mimic the powers of a Green Lantern ring, as it was able to send projectiles towards Batgirl. After seeing this, she starts questioning what she's fighting. Seeing that it has heat vision and lantern powers, she thinks that she's fighting an Amazo. But what she doesn't know is that this isn't an Amazo, this is a suit that Batman has designed himself, even showing that he has the ability to go invisible like Martian Manhunter. And it doesn't just stop there. When he needed to get information out of somebody, we see that he has a mode that allows him to mimic the powers of the Lasso of Truth, forcing the information out of him to tell him exactly why Ra's al Ghul was doing what he was doing at the time. And with this suit, he's even able to mimic the Flash's abilities, as the suit allows him to generate a small surge of the Speed Force. The Insider suit also gives him a couple of resistances and useful abilities as well that's not pertaining to the Justice League. It has a spectral mode that uses night vision and can block out mental influence abilities and block out external radiation. But even with all these abilities, it's still not even close to his strongest suit. The 4th strongest suit that I have on this list actually comes from the new issue of World's Finest. This suit being over 200 feet tall, allowing him to fight a monster that was destroying the city. And even though that we don't see it for long, we do know that it's really powerful based off of what this monster has done. Because not only is he destroying the city with ease, but he was swatting Superman around easily as well. And with just one punch of this robot that Batman is operating in, he's able to send this monster flying. Even when it tries to restrain Batman with his tentacles, it still isn't enough and Batman hits it again. And even though the suit is over 200 feet tall, it still comes equipped with its own useful batarangs. And these batarangs were doing serious damage to the monster as well, even knocking it over. In the end, Superman takes the monster to the Arctic, freezing it and trapping it in place. And even though that there's not too much to go off of with the suit, anything that's able to go toe-to-toe with something throwing around Superman deserves to be on this list. But here's where we get into the strongest suits that Batman owns. The next 3 suits I'm going over are going to be way better than these last 2. And the weakest one out of the 3 is going to be the Hellbat suit. You see, the Justice League knew that Bruce Wayne had no powers, and one day he would need to fight something bigger than himself. And like I said earlier, sometimes being human just isn't enough. With this, the Justice League ends up creating a suit that will help Batman fight against the impossible, each of them contributing one key factor towards the suit, allowing Batman to compensate for the lack of powers he has. And one time when the Eradicator came down and tried to fight Superman and Lois, he was being fueled by all the dead Kryptonians, giving him a crazy power boost. And eventually during this fight, he would also absorb the powers of Superman as well. With Superman gone and Lois Lane to protect herself, she ends up stumbling upon the Hellbat suit. Lois is enraged with what the Eradicator has done. Seeing that the Eradicator is going after her son, she quickly grabs his arms and slams him into the ground. Eradicator then decides to dig deep and start using the power of all Kryptonians and the living life force of Superman, sending out a heat wave that the bat suit was able to tank. Lois Lane, still having some fight left in her, throws a punch shattering some of the metal on the Eradicator. Even takes his leg and then slams him into a wall. The only thing is though that Lois Lane is too inexperienced to be using the suit, which allowed her to get caught in the grasp of the Eradicator, which would ultimately lead to the defeat that she had against the Eradicator. But when Batman used the suit, it was for a completely different reason and a greater enemy. You see, Darkseid just took Damian away from Bruce, and during this point, Batman is beyond reasoning. He doesn't want to listen to the Justice League, and he is deciding to go fight Darkseid himself. Of course, the Justice League tries to stop him at first, but Lex Luthor tricks them into letting Bruce Wayne go ahead. When showing up to Apocalypse, he starts destroying all the soldiers Darkseid had in preparation, even being able to one-shot Godfrey. After all of these events, Batman starts seeking out Darkseid's son, Caliban. Upon finding Caliban, Batman draws first blood, immediately hitting him with an uppercut. And what makes this really impressive is that Caliban is equal to Orion. And after this, Batman was able to disarm Caliban, using his weapon against him and finally defeating him. And with this, Batman has proved that he is worthy of Darkseid's attention, as before he was trying to do all of this to draw Darkseid out of hiding so he can finally face him one-on-one. And Darkseid says that he's very happy to see Batman, and the scars that he left on him made him more resolute. But Batman doesn't care if Darkseid is feeling more confident or more determined to beat him, because Batman has one thing on his mind, and that is getting Damian back from Darkseid. Calabac tries to off-guard Batman, but he ends up using a mother box, tricking him into falling into the portal, to where Darkseid crushes the mother box out of Batman's hand, saying that he won't be using it to escape him. Batman tells Darkseid that it's fine because he has no intention on going anywhere just yet, as he punches Darkseid and he starts stumbling backwards. After a second hit, Darkseid then counters Batman, grabbing his leg and throwing him, which leads up to Darkseid landing on top of Batman, showing that the Hellbat armor is fully equipped with taking hits from Darkseid. And to counter this, Batman releases a swarm of bats to distract Darkseid, allowing him to lead up with another punch. Darkseid puts him in a bear hug, but Batman continues his assault, punching Darkseid in the face. Darkseid then lets Batman go and punches him, sending him flying. With this, Darkseid decides that he wants to end this now and starts charging up his Omega beams. Batman then ends up using the Chaos Shard to attract the Omega beams like a magnet, to where he would absorb all the power and then redirect it through the Batsuit, sending Darkseid flying. And with having Darkseid defeated, he uses the boom tube to finally get back home.
Wait, you're not just some guy in a bat costume, are you?
Next up is the Justice Buster that Batman designed to take down the Justice League. During this time, Wonder Woman was trying to kill Batman because he was unaware that the League has been corrupted by the Joker. He then goes to grab his suit known as the Justice Buster to try to combat this. Batman starts fighting Wonder Woman and realizes she has no desire to spare his life, saying that she means to kill him and that she's not pulling any of her punches. And even though that we see Diana absolutely destroy the suit of armor, none of this is real. As Wonder Woman is a warrior of truth, the only way to beat her is with a lie. So Batman equipped the armor with some magic that was potent enough to deceive Wonder Woman into thinking that she won this battle. And after she was defeated, the Flash tries to take down Batman next. But this fight is actually so fast that Batman couldn't even process it. But he doesn't need to process it, as the suit is built to track the Flash's movements. And after it already got a lock on Flash's movements, it was able to deploy a frictionless coating. This all happened so fast that the Flash wasn't even able to react to this and ended up sliding and running into a wall. Aquaman tries to show up next to defeat Batman, but he's quickly encased within some foam, trapping him, restricting his movement to the point where he can't even break free. But there's one more person left that he has to fight, and he's starting to prepare for them. He mentioned if it's Cyborg next, that his tech should be enough to deal with him. If it's Hal Jordan up next, he's able to emit a yellow aura to weaken his Green Lantern powers. But it's actually far worse than that, as we see it's Superman who sends him flying through a building. And this is when it's revealed to us that Superman is actually affected by the Joker toxin, which causes him to start attacking Batman, using anything nearby to damage the suit. But just like all the other members of the Justice League, Batman came prepared for this, showing off his red sun brass knuckles built into the suit directly. And with this suit, not only was he able to draw blood from Superman, but also send him flying. Now that Superman is out a distance of the red sun, he tries to use his heat vision to destroy the suit. But just as always, Batman has thought about this. So Superman, knowing that he can't do anything to the suit, decides to damage the area around him, causing a building to fall on top of the Justice Buster. And with the suit heavily damaged, Superman is now able to rip it apart piece by piece, which is the last time that we've seen this suit until the Flash's new run, where in this run there's only one thing to note about the suit, where it's revealed to us that it has the ability to remove a speedster's connection from the Speed Force, but by doing this, it would end up killing the speedster in the process. Now the last suit that I want to talk about comes from Justice League 2018, this suit being the final bat suit. In the story, the World Forger needs the Justice League to go along with his plan, but they remain defiant as they don't see it fitting with their morals. So he calls upon Batman, as Batman was stated to be one of the greatest minds in the entire multiverse. And this is when we find out that Bruce Wayne from the future was able to build something called the final bat suit, the greatest seat of power in all of existence, using one of the strongest metals to ever exist, that metal being Element X. And with this suit, not only was he able to change people's minds cell by cell, but this armor literally made him the breaker and maker of the universe. And with this suit, Batman became the strongest member in the Justice League, where he fights all of them at the exact same time. And this is much different from when he fought him with the Justice Buster. As the Jokerized toxin was weakening the League, this Justice League was at the best of their capability, and there's no doubt that in the future, we're just going to keep getting more and more suits, showing how powerful Bruce Wayne can actually be.